Pastor Chuck Swindoll has said, "We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude." He continues to say, "I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it." Certainly, we are in unprecedented circumstances. Yet, Swindoll challenges us and reminds us that we are still in charge of our attitudes. So what should our attitudes look like in the midst of coronavirus? I find myself drawn back to the book of Philippians. In the book of Philippians, Paul finds himself in difficult circumstances. He's in prison, not because he's done something wrong, but he's in prison because he's shared the gospel of Christ. And those conditions could have led Paul to become anxious. They could have led Paul to become discouraged. They could have led Paul to murmur, to complain. But instead, the book of Philippians is filled with the message of rejoicing. It's filled with the message of joy. And Paul expresses his purpose throughout the book of Philippians. He's able to be joyous. He's able to be focused because he recognizes that his purpose in life is to spread the gospel. So he can tell the Philippians that my circumstances have actually turned out for the furtherance of the gospel. The whole Praetorian Guard now knows about Christ. What a focus, what an attitude that we should emulate. I'm convinced that such a mindset will carry us through these difficult circumstances. Our purpose, our game plan is locked into modeling and sharing the good news of Jesus Christ. So at Providence Classical School, we are not panicking. We trust the sovereignty of God. We're not panicking because we've spent time preparing and we continue to prepare. Certainly we will make mistakes, but we're not prepared. We're not panicking. While our facility is partially closed and being run on a skeleton crew, we recognize that our whole community, our board, our administration, our faculty, our staff, our community is still committed to learning. Learning must continue. Education must continue. You may be asking, what can we expect from Providence Classical School? You can expect regular and pertinent communication. On our webpage, you will find a dedicated page to COVID-19 and the latest updates. You'll find emails coming from our community. On Fridays, you'll still receive the connection updates. You'll see social media posts still happening. You can expect from PCS a commitment to safety in our decision-making and in our daily practices. We're following the CDC, the WHO, and the Texas Department of State Health Services in our decision-making and in our practices. For an updated list, since this is a fluid situation, please check our webpage and look at our updates and follow the links there to those websites. You can expect from Providence Classical School a commitment to our families and our students. This is a challenging time. We are committed to loving and supporting you. You can expect from us that commitment expressed in education. We're committed to continue to educate and provide an education that is both Christian and classical. You can expect a commitment to our mission. We are a Christian school using the classical model to train students to impact their culture for Christ. Certainly that culture may look different now, but the mission has not changed. And you can expect from us continued support. We're here to answer your questions, to provide technical support, and a willingness to help in any way which we are able. So as we think about this situation, I do want to provide a challenge to our Providence Classical School community. I exhort our community, or I charge our community to be flexible, to be patient with us as we're putting into practice new ways of learning. Patient with one another as you're spending more and more time in your homes with your family. And patient with yourself, as certainly there are going to be times where you fail in this process, as each of us will. I charge us to use this as an opportunity to fulfill our mission. How can we impact our culture for Christ in our day-to-day lives, in the small decisions that we make, in our attitudes, day in and day out, in our homes as we spend more time with our families, in our learning communities? Let's continue to be committed to fulfilling our mission. And I challenge us to take charge of our attitudes. Just because we're in these conditions, in these circumstances, doesn't mean that we're automatically going to grow from them. Certainly we have an opportunity to grow, but we have to make the decision to allow these conditions, to allow these circumstances to become an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to grow in our character, an opportunity to grow in our knowledge, an opportunity to grow in our discernment, and an opportunity to grow in our communication. We have new scenarios in which we get to put this into practice. So I charge us to take control of our attitudes, to take charge of our attitudes, and to grow from these current circumstances. Providence Classical School community, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for our community. I'm praying for our churches. I'm praying for our state, our nation, and our country, and our world as we are in uncharted waters. I pray that the Lord guides us as we navigate through that we recognize that our call is to live as Christ, to die as gain. I charge us to use these conditions, use these current circumstances to further the gospel of Jesus Christ. As our motto says, Semper Excelsior ad gloriam Dei, always ever upward to the glory of God.